We're live, Rusty. We made it. We're on. How's it going?
Good, good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, we did this. So, live again. Um, we'll kind of introduce ourselves if you're here for the first time. I'm Matthew Cox with Coach B, and we are from MC Training, and we're going live here on LinkedIn. And we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We do this every. What is our schedule on this, Rusty? We go
Usually
live
every other
every
Monday. Yeah,
every
usually
other
every other
Monday.
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, we try to bring it. We I know a lot of content creators want to do it like every day, but now every other Monday sounded good to me. So so stay tuned. Yeah, so let's jump in. Let's give a little background of who we are, Rusty, and then we'll jump into our topic. You want to kick that off and share with whoever's on and all the
Yeah.
leaders and our entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. So Matthew and I, we've been in the business space for a lot of years, been in the coaching space over 20 plus years, over 40 years combined between us, probably, if you will. So we've spent a lot of time in that. And what we do, our flagship program that we specialize in here is helping business owners in the space of between 10 and 40 employees help get their business in line. So in other words, takes them to where their business is operating and running how they want, and we build that cohesion. So if you're in that space, it's definitely that. Everything we talk about here today is pretty much business related. It's kind of all things business. So if you're just in the business space at all, you're definitely going to get something out of this. But if you're looking for a program to help you, if you're in that chaotic stage of, oh my gosh, my business is blown up, I can't get the right people in the right seats, I'm struggling to set in processes and procedures and the structure and the framework. If you're in that space between 10 and 40 employees, you know exactly who you are and you know exactly what the struggles are. That's where we're here to help. So that's mainly our flagship. And then from that, other things come about, of course, but that's what we specialize in.
Yeah, and one of the things we did just this last year, well, we've been hanging out for over a decade now. It's been 10 years or so, I think, Rusty. But we finally came together and we created MC Training Consulting Group. And what we do is what Rusty just said. So it's really exciting, breed more information. And this is just like Coach B said, is just from all of our experience. Because I think what's missing a lot, and we'll get into that today a little bit in our conversation, but Rusty, there's so many entrepreneurs and a lot of manures that have not done anything but just been content creators. And
Sure.
so, have you? I think you've lived the stress of trying to make payroll, running several businesses from construction to mechanic shops to whatever it is. You've been in a lot of stuff. How
Yeah.
stressful is that as a business owner?
Yeah, it's definitely stressful, and I don't think it gets any easier. You know, rules, regulations, trying to find right employees today seems to be a battle. You know, people want to work from home, people not want. Like it's just a, you know, the battles never change. They're always there, and so yeah, definitely having that experience of knowing what it's like to be in the trenches is critical. Nothing wrong with being a reporter. There's people out there that can bring some good information, but
Hmm.
when it comes down to it, information's great, but being able to walk the walk and been through the fire and been through the trenches, you know, the gauntlet, we've all been through that, right? And so I think that's the difference is we do have the information, but we also have the experience to go with that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I wanted to just point that out because a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, they stress because a lot of times they'll seek, and there's so much noise on here. I mean, on LinkedIn, on these different platforms, there's just so much noise to sort through, isn't there? And so we have to
Absolutely.
get through it. Well, let's jump into our topic. I'm going to let you kick it off, and then we're going to have a discussion. And feel free to, if you do jump on in this early morning on the way to work, I'm watching the comments. So if you have a comment, throw it in there, and I'll read it during our little episode here. So go ahead, Rusty. Kick off our topic for today.
Yeah. So one thing that, you know, we're always trying to define what it is that we do. And, you know, it hit me this last couple of weeks as we work with these business owners in particular. The question is this that we're going to talk about today is if you died today, would your business die with you? And I don't mean that like, I mean, I don't wish death upon anybody. That's not the point. The point is sometimes we are our business. We're the only ones that know what's going on, or we can't get away from our business. There's so many things that question brings to mind for me. And I think it's an honest question. If you were to die today, would your business die with you? And if you can't say no to that question, then really what you've created a business, but it's just you, and it's not going to pass on. You're not going to live on that legacy. So I think that's what a lot of us build a business and start a business is because we want to pass on that legacy. We want to make a bigger difference in the world. We want to provide for people and other people's families. And we enjoy that just as much as we do about enjoying what we do in the business. So it's just a great question to ask, where do you want to be in your business journey? And so that's a question for the day today. I see you nodding, Matt, when I asked that question. And I know you've been there, right? Like if you were to die, sometimes, we've both been there, that we were the business. And
Yep.
if we died or anything happened to us, the business would just die also. And so, for instance, if you go on vacation for a week, does the business die? I mean, do people quit working? Does the business go downhill? And I can't tell you how many business owners that we deal with that don't even want to take a vacation because they know when they come back, they're going to have to start back over. And it's just a nightmare for them. So it's a great question.
Yeah, I think a lot of startups, a lot of entrepreneurs are probably shaking their head. Oh my gosh, Rusty hit my biggest fear. I mean, any entrepreneur, any visionary that's listening, if you're all the ones wearing the hats, me and Rusty have hats on. You've heard that saying in business, you wear multiple hats, right? I'm the owner, I'm the janitor, I'm the everything, and then you start hiring, so the complexity gets a little bit more when you finally are the visionary that started the business, and then you add two more people, the complexity, communication gets a little harder, and then you feel you can walk away, but then I know we both lived this, Rusty. We end up with 5 people we hired, and we try to walk away. Then you come back after a vacation, and then you're cleaning up a mess. You've experienced that. I think that's the stressor that any visionary or entrepreneur has, right?
Absolutely. So I mean, yeah, I mean, that's it. What do you want? What do you want out of your business? What did you build it for? Do you want to be able, because I can tell you this, most everybody that I deal with, and same with you, Matt, I believe we all started a business because one, we didn't want a boss, right?
Yeah, I don't
Like we
know.
didn't want a boss. And with that being said, our business becomes our boss. Like we can't get away from it. We can't disengage from it. It owns us. So that's problem number one, right? Like you didn't want somebody that owns you. And then we build this business that owns us, right? And then number two, we wanted more time. We built a business because we wanted the choice of our time, when we use it, where we put it, what we do with it. And then we get to this stage of my business owns me. I'm here 24/7. I'm working 80 hours a week. I can't get away from it. I don't dare leave. I don't dare take a vacation. And so if you're in that stage, the answer to that question is, if I died today, when my business died, that's yes. Because you haven't
Mhm.
learned how to delegate. You haven't learned how to build seats. You haven't learned how to fill the right seats. You haven't learned how to hire the right people. You've promoted people within because they've been with you and they shouldn't be in leadership positions. Or, like right now, I get it. Hiring's tough. How do you recruit people? How do you retain people? But yeah, I think we build businesses. I know I started businesses for those two reasons. I wanted time and I wanted my freedom. And sometimes I lost both of those in the process. So,
Amen. Yeah, no,
right.
I agree. I remember if you're listening to this and if you've started something like what Rusty's saying, I remember the nights where I didn't sleep. I remember many years where the stress was so bad that I didn't know what I was doing. I think every entrepreneur, every business owner goes through that phase because a lot of people will see the outcome. If you ride the storm out, they see the success later and they wonder, hey, but a lot of people don't see what you went through to get there.
Mm-hmm.
The liability, the headache, the late nights trying to make sure you do it. And this also goes for, don't you think this lines with CEOs or VPs that are running businesses for people, right? Do you feel it runs into that too? Because they're trying to get a team going. And
Yeah.
if you have a big team, you as a CEO or an entrepreneur that's running maybe a bigger company that you've been put in charge of, you're going to be up late at night trying to figure out why are they not doing their job, right? It's the same
Absolutely.
concept. Yeah. So if you
Yeah,
left,
absolutely.
yeah. So the question lies to the CEO or the VP too. If you left and went on vacation, would the organization stop or halt, or would you come back to a mess? I've heard a lot of my VPs I coach, Rusty. They say, "Oh, I'm worried because when I go out, I have to come back and clean everything up because nobody does what they're supposed to." Uh, and that's a concern if nobody's owning their seat and hearing what they need to, and that's that clear roles. Big topic. Let's keep going. Let's flesh this out because this is a big concern. I think a lot of our coaching clients. I think a lot of your coaching clients have these concerns too, Ritzy, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all afraid to leave. We've been in that situation, but that if you're, that's the same thing. That question, if you're afraid to leave, what can we do better that we have the right people to balance us out? I get it. Your role's important. I get it. You have things to answer. There's certain things that you have to do, right? There's certain things that you have to do in your role. But when we boil that down, I have everybody do this quite often. We'll go through this and tell me the things that you have to do. And, they'll make a list. And then I'm like, okay, those are the things you are doing. Give me a list of what you have to do. And then it's usually only about 2 to 3 things. Everything else can be delegated or hired out or whatever it is. Sometimes we're just afraid to let go. And
Yeah.
therefore, we keep so much on our plate because I've heard, the saying, well, it's just easier to do it myself. If you've got that mentality, you're in trouble. Like, you're in trouble to have that mentality because you're not helping your team and you're not helping you. If you're in a leadership position or an ownership position, your mindset should be, how do I maximize other people so that they can do it to the best of their ability, so that I don't have to say to myself, it's easier just for me to do it. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. It might be, but it doesn't solve your problems. It doesn't grow your company. It doesn't give you more freedom. It doesn't teach you how to delegate. It doesn't teach you how to entrust in your people around you, in your team. And if you've always got that mindset, your team also has that mindset. Well, we'll just let them do it. They want to do it anyway, instead of us taking responsibility. See, we have to teach responsibility, right? And we have to learn to delegate. So that's kind of my take on that, is that saying of, it's just easier for me to do it myself. That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts.
No, it's funny you say that. I ran into a leader this week dealing with that same concept. They use the color code on this business that we purchased, and we're coming in and we're revamping the leadership. And the previous leadership, don't get me wrong, bless the heart, but they had that mentality. She was a very strong gold in our color system. We use the personality. I think they use a different one. They call it a red. But she would do what you just said, Rusty. She'd say, "I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to do everything." And the communication factor is when she would leave, things would fall apart because everything went through her, and she didn't cascade it down. And she had over a dozen people in this organization or more, but nobody knew. When we purchased the individual company, then when we came in, there was a lot of, I call it manure effect. You ever heard of that saying? I'm only going to feed you what you need to. The mushroom grows underneath the manure, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of things where you got to get around what Rusty's saying. You create your own nightmare. You got to look at it as a leader. Why is this happening? And there's a saying that we use here. So you go, they go. So you go, they go. So if you go and you try to take over everything, you're creating your nightmare. So when Rusty's question, can you leave on vacation? Can you go? Will your business fall apart? Well, if the answer is yes, I want you to kind of step back and say, what am I doing wrong? And I think Rusty hit it. It's that roles, clear expectations, and making sure the individuals understand what they're responsible, and you're going to hold them accountable for it, right? That's really where it comes down to. What do you think, Rusty?
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to trust. I mean, and
Yeah,
here's the
trust.
thing is we just, yeah, people may not do it exactly like you're doing it, and they may not be as effective as you are, but we just can't do it all. Like, as a business grows, and Matt, you alluded to this at the start. If I have one employee, that's just between me and them. It's not a big deal. We only got to touch 2 points, right? Like, there's only 2 dots that we have to connect. I add an employee, now I've got 3 dots I have to connect. I add more employees. I got all these dots that I have to connect. and I can't be in charge of all those dots or those lines. That's why I have to learn to trust these people and delegate in other people. And I get it. They may not be as invested as I am. They may not do it as well as I do it. But you know what? Systems and processes, we talk about this over and over and over. Getting a system in place, getting clear on what it is that you're after, then people can understand it and they can do it. Everybody learns. Every skill in business is learned. There's
Hmm.
nothing out there that we're just like, oh, we hold these magic keys now. Like every business I walk into, they do the same things, good or bad, right? Good or bad. There's no magic in what we do. We may create a better mousetrap, but at the end of the day, we're still in the people business. We're in the people business. It's a matter of getting people to follow processes, believe in processes, and do them. And that's what we're after here. I mean, yeah, your mousetrap's your mousetrap. I get that. You're selling a product, but at the end of the day, we're still in the people business. And this is what we struggle with and
Yeah.
we think, well, we'll just write a new rule. Well, if your people don't believe in the rules, you can write all the rules you want. It doesn't change anything.
Well, and I think you come back to what we were talking about last week too, is buy-in, right? It doesn't
Yes.
matter what system. So to answer the question, I think this always, it's funny how it always comes back to the one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the question you ask is, if you die today, would your business die with you? Or if you go on vacation, would you have the same effect? And it comes back to what we talked about last week, Rusty, is that, does your people really buy in to the system that you're in? Because it doesn't matter how beautiful, because here on LinkedIn, there's so many systems, right? I think, Rusty, we get bombarded all door sort really good systems too that we love to use. But the problem is, if you don't buy into the system, if you don't fully believe in the system, and then you don't make sure everybody, when that complexity, like what Rusty said, when you now add another employee, and you don't make sure you do a good job to make sure they know that this is our system, this is what we're going to hold you accountable for, and this is where your seat is, and you make sure that they follow that system or they believe in it, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're going to answer, yes, my business will fall apart if any of these things happen. So it leads back to that. What do you think? It's funny that it leads back to that.
Absolutely. I mean, the systems don't have to be amazing if your people believe
No.
in them, right? Like they'll make them better. They'll improve them for you if they're given that opportunity to do so, and expected to do so, right? Like if I go into a business, I want to have the opportunity to make their systems and processes and their people better. That's the whole
Uh,
thing. That's what we do, and that's what your people should be encouraged to do. Is like, hey, here's our system. Here's a framework. But I encourage you to make it better. I actually, I was on a meeting just last week with one of the companies that we work with. And, the owner got on and said that, he says, I appreciate, we were doing our shout out to our people. And he said, I appreciate so and so trying to better this system. May not be perfect and he may not have got it right, but at least he's trying. And you know what? That's encouraging for an owner to be willing to first accept the fact that other people can make their systems better, two, allow them to make mistakes in trying to make it better and giving them the runway to do so. That's pretty big on their part. And plus, his people believe that it's up to them and they're encouraged to make the system better. So that's belief, that's buy-in, that's for the greater good, as you always say, for the organization, right? It's for the greater
yeah.
good of the organization. And so that's what we have to do as business owners. I get it. We've invested our blood, sweat, and tears. And so when we finally grow past that point that we are no longer just working a job in our business, we are now wanting to build a business that can stand alone. If I was to walk away, would it still stand? I sold a business. I sold one of my first businesses probably 14 years ago, and that business is still alive today. Kind
Hmm.
of cool, right? Kind of cool. Still
Yeah.
has the same name. And yes, and my hat's off to those guys. They took it, they ran it, they kept it alive. But it was set up to where they could do that. And I didn't know at the time that I'd even done that, Matt. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't know that much about business. I just built a good business and I sold it and we helped them with the structure and they kept it going, right? But now looking back here today, I realized that business could stand alone whether I showed up or didn't show up because I had the right people in the right places doing the right things. Now that doesn't mean that I let go of the leash completely. I always use the analogy of the leash, right? Sometimes you got to hold on to the collar, but as you get in life, you want to get that leash as long as possible. And I think, and that's where our sweet spot is, of working with business owners that have got a hold of the collar and they're like, oh, I can't let go of nothing. And then we're extending that leash out to where they're like, hey, I just got to check on this once in a while and I got to be involved, but I don't have to be there 24/7. I think that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do here.
Yeah, no, and I think what you're leading in, I hope they're hearing what you're saying, because a lot of owners that we've worked with, or business owners, or coach or VP coaches that we've worked with as we've coached them, they'll get frustrated. They'll say, "Hey, this system's not working. Why isn't it working?" And they start saying, "Well, it's your fault, Rusty B. Coach B, it's your fault." And then you'll have to pull back and you'll say, "No, no, no, it's not my fault. Let's look at what you guys are doing." Because you'll have good meetings, you'll have good content, you'll have good trainings. But what I've noticed, when you have those higher level meetings, the integrator, as we call it in a business, you have a visionary, like Rusty's explaining. He was the visionary of the previous business, and then he had put somebody there to integrate, to put everything together when he was gone, right? Rusty, you had a manager probably at the
Mm-hmm.
time. You had a we call him a manager, but that would be your integrator, because he was the visionary. He started it. But what occurs a lot of times, you'll meet among the leadership, and I've seen this, but they forget to cascade down and get everybody bought in below. But it sounds like in that business, Rusty, you got everybody bought in, not knowing what you were doing at the time. Now you can look back and see that, right? Were people
Sure.
bought into that business? Did you talk to them to where they got a buy-in? What caused the
Absolutely.
buy-in?
Yeah.
Now that you look back, what were you doing to get buy-in? Like, what was it that you were getting them to buy into? A belief,
Well,
or
so buy-in, everybody, one
mm,
of the biggest things about buy-in, I think, is, there's four O's that I talk about, but I'm only going to talk about one of those right here, right now. And that is, people have to see an opportunity. So I gave them an opportunity. We didn't work things by the hour. We worked things on production, on the ability to produce. So like we call it was a flat rate, right? And so the job paid 8 hours. If you got it done in 4, you still got paid for 8. And so that was the opportunity that people had, is that I could make my living. I was in charge of my own destiny. How good did I want to be? How good do I have to be? How good do I want to be? So they were kind of in charge of their own destiny on that situation. So they had that opportunity to grow and become more, rather than just, hey, I'm here existing and I'm going to get, X amount of dollars no matter what. And so that's how we structured that, was to give our people an opportunity. And because that's all I ever wanted as a business owner too, right? Is I wanted an opportunity. And that's why I started a business, is I wanted an opportunity. And that's why I'm still a business owner today, is because I know there's more opportunities of being in charge of my own business rather than in somebody else's. But nothing wrong with either one. You just have to, as an owner, provide opportunity for everybody in your organization. And I know right now somebody's thinking, well, not everybody has the same opportunity. I get that, but everybody needs an opportunity. And an opportunity for me is different than it is for you, right, Matt? You
yeah,
might want more time off. I might want more money. You might want to have flexibility. You might want to work from home part-time, half-time. Like, opportunity is different for all of us. So when people tell me I can't set up opportunity, that's wrong. You can set up opportunity. You just got to find out what each individual wants. Maybe that guy just wants a week off to go hunting. It's hunting season right now in Utah. So, he's like, look, I'll work all year long as I get a week off to go hunting. And that's opportunity for that person. So you just have to understand what their opportunity is. Some people will do it for a Starbucks gift card. So
yeah.
I don't know, right?
Or just recognition, right? Just to
Yeah.
say, "Hey, good job." I mean, it's on the leader to figure out what their people, like you said earlier, you're in the people business, so figure out what your people need. I use a term a lot of times: career path them. Make sure they have a career. We in our system, Rusty, and the
Yeah.
Courage to Learn
I
Differently
like
was,
that.
we call it a people plan, right? We call it a people
Yes.
plan. Have a people plan, because if you do not, because a lot of the systems that are here on LinkedIn that are thrown out there, they're really big and well known. And Rusty and I use a lot of them. Rusty's a coach. He's a certified John Maxwell coach, and I'm certified in a lot of other fun things. But the point is, what we figured out here, no matter what system you're using, if you don't buy into it, so you go, they go. If you don't fully understand it and get everybody down to the bottom to believe in what you're doing, you can, like Rusty always says, you can run any kind of, what is it you say? The best offense and defense is what you got the best sayings. I'm going to let you say it.
Yeah, so being in the coaching space of sports for a lot of years also, people always ask me what's the best offense or defense to run, and my answer to that always is the ones your people believe in.
Yeah.
It's the ones your kids believe in, because they don't believe in it, you can't make enough offenses or defenses. And I always also say that if rules and process and regulations worked, we wouldn't have prisons. So people that don't go to prison are the people that believe in the processes, the rules, and you know what I'm saying? Like, so, or abide by them. So it's it's ones they believe in. It's what matters the most.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing I always think of when I'm a leader is if your people don't know their seat. So to go back to your opening question to kind of sum it up here, Rusty, is if I walked away, can my business continue to operate? I'd say, yeah, to a good point, we're doing well. But as I know for us, we know if we walk away, yes, we can operate. And so to anybody listening, from a VP to a CEO, if you're staying up at night, you're stressed, and what keeps you up at 2 a.m, and what are you thinking about? Then you have some issues, and some of those issues we want to put them on a list. That's where we can come in and really help your people. We can get down to the people plan, people issue, and start figuring out why is it that you can't go on vacation? Why can't you walk away and go do what you need to do as a leader at this point? It doesn't matter if you have 1 employee, 2 employees, 3 employees. At this point, is if you have 5 or more employees, you should be able to go on vacation as a business owner or the visionary that founded it. Rusty, what do you have to say on that? We'll conclude our comments and close out today. But what's your thoughts on the closing or your opening question?
Yeah, I think, and that's kind of what we've built our program around. And you touched on this just a bit, but, there's really 3 wheels, 3 areas of focus for us. That's a people plan, a process plan, and a cohesion plan. Because we've talked about that today. You can have your people, you can have your processes, but if you can't get those 2 to come together, it doesn't matter. Right. So that's what's important to us, but you have to have those in place. And plenty of businesses have a process plan. They have a lot of rules and regulations and things you can do, but boy, they don't invest in their people other than a paycheck. You have to invest in your people past the paycheck. You have to get to know them a little bit. You have to get them to buy in. That's where the cohesion plan comes into this whole deal. And so all organizations is in the middle of this. Those 3 things are what make all organizations. And don't get me wrong, I've seen people make money without having a people plan, but man, I'll tell you, it's a miserable environment. And so if you want to have a great environment with the great people, with a great process, then this is what it takes. And this is what we focus everything on. So to answer that question, if you have these 3 things in place, then you can say yes you can absolutely say, yeah, if I walked away today and left for 2 weeks and come back, my business would still be going strong.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Rusty answered pretty thoroughly. And so, all right, if you're listening, next steps here, appreciate you being on and listening to us. But if your next steps would be getting with us in this, as you're listening to this podcast and as you're hearing us, below is our calendar. Get on a 90-minute discovery call with us. We'll go through, we'll help you understand what we do as leaders and helping your leadership get to that next level. And if you're having any of these struggles that we're talking about, and if you're sitting up at 2 a.m. thinking, man, that would be great, Rusty, to go on vacation. I do stress about that. If I was to pass away, this business would die and all the great people with us would not have a job. So you always got to think that whatever you establish, can this live on past me? And that's the question we're having here. So Rusty, what else can they do to get a hold of us out? We'll put our calendar below. Is there any other ways they can reach out to us if they need us?
Yeah, just reach out to us. We're on LinkedIn. You can see us here, obviously, direct messages. We're pretty good about getting back to those things. As far as that goes, we're here to help. We're here to help people. You just have to understand that we're pretty real.
Yeah.
I'm not buttoned up, all that type of thing. I just enjoy working with people. So, as far as that goes, and, I get it. We can adapt to a lot of levels. Me and Matt come from different backgrounds, so I guarantee you we're going to relate to your people somehow, some way. I may not as well as Matt, and that's the great thing of our personalities is we are different. We understand that, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, just reach out to us. You have questions, ask them. That's what I have to tell people the most is ask the question. That's the other problem with being a business owner. We have way too much pride. And we just have to sometimes let our guard down a little bit and ask other people that may have been there that can help us. There's always a runway, like I said, Matt, to get where we want. The question is how short can you make it?
Yeah, and I loved what you said, Rusty, because at the end of the day, look at us. We're in our gym, like we have hats on. I'm in my gym clothes, and Rusty's, hitting there. We're not trying to put on this facade that you see in the social media. We've been there, we've done it, we've lived it. You can go after those beautiful programming. Rusty and I went down those rabbit holes for years, and all these content creators that say they've done. But they're going to upsell you and oversell you and upsell you and oversell you. And what we're telling you is we're going to come in personally and work with your team. And it's going to be hands-on. It's nothing, no smoking mirrors, no, unless you have celebrity people. Rusty, do you do that celebrity funneling people where you put a celebrity in the picture and say, you know them, and then funnel it down through something and say, call me because I know this guy? Or
Yeah, I'm not very good at that. That's
okay. All right.
Being a butt kisser. I'm
All right.
horrible at that. I'm gonna be honest.
You're a good cowboy, so they're gonna hear that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just being real. What we want to do is, if you have a question, doesn't matter if you work with us or not, send a message out to me and Rusty on LinkedIn, and we'll answer it.
Yeah, because if nothing else,
yep.
It's our next LinkedIn Live. We'll answer that question on LinkedIn and cover it. So, honestly,
some content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Again, my name's Matthew Cox. This is Rusty Burnside. We're with MC Training Consulting Group, and we're here to help you with your people because we're in the people business. And like it says here on the screen, the courage to lead differently. The reason we picked this title is that you have to have courage in the time we live in right now. So we encourage you to lead differently, step up, be outside the box. Don't be doing the same thing over and over. And as we always say, if we're here for you. So anything else, Rusty, send us off with the one good insight or comment, and we'll close out.
Yeah, one good insight comment here is just be honest with where you want to be in your business. Like, remember what you did it for and what you want out of it. And if you're not getting it, find the help to get what you want.
There you go. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Comment below. Let us know what else you want to hear. And have a wonderful Monday and the rest of the week. Take care.